Okay, today I want to talk about what is a constitution and a little bit about the constitutions that have been in Italy. So, first of all, what is a constitution? A constitution is basically a document which helps us live together. So it enables us to have rules to live together and to know what our rules and behaviours should be, and to know what the powers, rules and behaviours are to be too. It gives us an identity. For example, in the Italian constitution, now we have a lot of values in the principles, the fundamental principles. It talks about, the values of solidarity, of work, of diversity, of rights, fundamental rights, etc., etc. The opening up to the international community, respecting being part of an international community. And these are the values, what Italians value. And that gives us an identity. So, it does create a feeling of who we are and how we see the world. And also, in the second part of the Constitution, we can see the structures of the state and how that functions and how that's made up, the limits of powers. What is the Parliament, how many MPs work in the Parliament, how the Parliament can be dissolved and what happens, how do we form a government, etc., etc. So it really establishes the rules of the state. But also, what is the state? It establishes the state. It creates the public school system, because it says education is free for everyone. It creates the health system, etc. In Italy, we've only had the present constitution since the post-war period. Before that was in force the Statute of Albertino, Carlo Alberto. This statute was established in 1848, and it was established by the king because he could see that the people were getting restless and wanting a revolution and wanting some power. They could see France, after their revolution and after their constitution and the separations of the power from the king, the creation of a state separate from the king. They could see that and they wanted that. And so the king saw that he must do something. So he conceded this constitution. But it was just to placate the people. It really maintained the power of the king. The king could veto a law, so that there was a parliament that was established with voting rights for the citizens, not all the citizens, but wasn't universal suffrage. But the king could veto the law made by the parliament, or he nominated the government. So he had control over the executive power, and he also nominated judges. So, the judges would want to keep him happy because their jobs would be at risk otherwise, and they would judge in a way that would keep him happy. Again, he got control of the judicial power, the executive power, and the legislative power. So really, it was just a partial step towards the people having a real constitution which created the modern state. and separated the king from the state. Now, the characteristics of this statuto, this statute of the king, the first constitution of Italy, was very different from the present constitution. For example, it was conceded, it wasn't voted on, so it wasn't fully accepted by the people. It wasn't the will of the people, this rules of the game, shall we say, because a constitution can be seen as the rules of the game, where the people's will can be expressed within these structures created and within these limits, etc. But it wasn't voted on, so that's quite a considerable characteristic. It was flexible, so any law could change it just like that, whereas the constitution now is rigid. To change it would mean a law that goes through an aggravated procedure. So you would have, for example, if you want to change the constitution now, it has to go through the Houses of Parliament twice and have a higher level of majority, an aggravated majority, not just a simple majority like 51%, or it could go to a referendum if it gets the 51%, but not the aggravated majority. So it was flexible, it was short. The constitution we have now is very long, very detailed, and really interferes into our lives and makes sure we all know exactly how we must behave and be organised in our economic sphere, social sphere, political sphere, etc. So that's quite a difference. So we can see that in fact the present constitution, we could say is like a program. It's a proper program. We could say a political program, but there's things for the right and the left in there. It's not just one side of a spectrum, or even other spectrums like conservative and reforming, etc. So there's things. It's a program, but it can be seen in a wide, amplified way.